A future with game streaming looks like it's on the horizon. This future is years away, and it's going to offer options where people can play games where they want, when they want, how they want. There is major competitors entering into the gaming market using game streaming as a platform to stand on. But they and other game streaming providers have a major obstacle ahead of them, creating one major uphill battle. What's going on, everybody? It's Centurion1307 back at you with some new content revolving around a little bit of a problem that game streaming is going to have going forward into the future. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you once again. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Okay, so let's dig into this. Game streaming has a lot of fear-mongering and hate going towards what it's trying to present to people. In my opinion, it is a really awesome, noble idea that is going to put gaming in the hands of a lot of people who can't afford the consoles. On top of that, it's going to give players access to their digital libraries to be able to play them when they're out and about and on the road. But in my opinion, there is two major obstacles that these streaming providers are going to have to overcome to make this a viable product. Big problem number one is the state of the internet infrastructure in the United States. Only major metropolitan areas in the United States that have up-to-date internet facilities are going to be able to take full advantage of game streaming. If you live anywhere outside of a major metropolitan area, you're going to have a serious issue in using game streaming. According to Ookla, back in June of 2018, the average download speed for the American consumer was just under 94 megabits a second. The only problem with this, in my opinion, is millions and millions of more people live in cities than they do live in rural areas. Everybody knows if you live in the big city, you're gonna have great internet. But let's talk about the people that live out in rural areas. I happen to know a great guy that I do a podcast with every Sunday on the TXR podcast that happens to live in Montana. Let's talk about his average internet speed, shall we? In an article on Business Insider, it talks about how tech jobs are following internet speeds. And there's Montana at just under 26 megabits a second average speed. Funny enough, this article was put out this year. Where is this mythical 94 megabits a second that was talked about in 2018? The highest speed on this map looks like it's in Maryland, around 65 megabits a second. Here is yet another example showing on December 5th of 2019, 11 counties in Alabama are going to be using USDA grants to bring high-speed internet to their area. Let's think about that for a second. There's a lot of people out there that take high-speed internet for granted and never think about what it's like to live without it. But there is 11 counties in Alabama alone that are bragging about how they are going to get high-speed internet now in 2019. So lack of proper internet speeds outside of major metropolitan areas is just one problem game streaming is having going forward. Let's talk about another problem game streaming is going to have, and it starts with two simple words: data caps. Now, data caps are something not a whole lot of people know much about, but they are something that is starting to rise in popularity in internet providers. Let's face the facts, most internet providers are failing cable companies that are aggravated that everybody's starting to cut the cord and use the internet for all their entertainment. To combat the lost revenue that they're having from their cable services, they're starting to implement ways that penalize people for using too much internet. I use Cox Cable in my area to provide my internet, and they come with a 1 terabyte data cap. I actually had to pay to raise this data cap to 1.5 terabytes. And they tried to sell me on the fact that they could give me unlimited for even more. But there's a catch to that. After you go to the unlimited package, if you use more data than you should be, they will throttle your signal. For those who don't know, throttling is where they deliberately slow your internet signal. On the screen right here in front of you is a small list of companies that actually have data caps in their services unless you pay to become unlimited. This is just a small bandwagon bandwagon of companies right now. Hopefully no more want to hop into this idea of a money grab. Now, just when you thought it couldn't stop at data caps, now it's going to get even more interesting with what people are calling internet slow lanes. When you use the internet, it follows pathways to the servers to the service you're trying to use. Certain internet providers are creating slow pathways to hinder the process of these streaming companies. This is why in certain situations when you're trying to watch Netflix, your internet seems really horrible, all due to the fact that they don't want you to enjoy these experiences. They'd rather have you use their cable services. Before you think I'm just making this stuff up as I go, you gotta remember that there is nothing that stops them from doing this. It is not illegal. All legislation that would prevent them from doing this was thrown out the window when net neutrality was dissolved. Certain internet companies have contracted obligations to certain streaming services, and therefore they will deliberately slow down competing streaming services. I've linked the 2017 article from The Verge down below going into deeper detail on this issue. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, the slow lane thing actually got bigger, and gamers are going to suffer most of all. Internet providers know that gamers rely very heavily on the internet, and so we are going to be singled out and nickeled and dimed left and right. The biggest grievance that has come out of the dissolving of net neutrality is going to be implemented by none other my cable company, Cox Cable. Here it is, the first of its kind, Elite Gamer, a service where you pay at least $15 a month to optimize your gaming internet. They justify this by saying that your internet is just basic, but for this extra $15 a month, you can prioritize your internet and you'll have a much better experience. This service boasts that you'll experience less lag, a higher ping rate, and less jitter in your gameplay. This is just proof of internet fast lanes, and I'm pretty sure somewhere they have internet slow lanes that they send these signals through just to get you to use these services. I have yet to experience any real issues with my internet company and them putting everything through a slow lane, but I'm pretty sure as time goes by and these games become more internet dependent, things could change. Especially if game streaming looks like it's going to be as big as these companies want it to be. It's going to make game streaming incredibly expensive just to use, even if you have access to the internet speeds that are needed to use it. The greed of internet service providers is the biggest hindrance to game streaming that I can see, and until it's changed, I don't see game streaming being a very viable option for people to play games in the long term. Some of these streaming services can use up data very quickly depending on the resolution you view your content in, and that can be a big problem if you have a small data cap. The fees get extremely steep if you exceed these data caps, and it's all based on how many gigs you go over. As a result of both of these problems, the FCC declared the US internet speeds are among the worst in the developed world. And it's not because of speed, it's because of the price we pay for the speeds that we get. American internet consumers are essentially being price gouged left and right by internet service providers due to the fact that our entire economy runs on it. It has been proven that there are countries in this world that provide the same speeds for a fraction of the cost. Not to mention that there is countries in this world that are supplying their consumers with gigs of data, not megabits. So there you have it. These are my prime examples on why I say game streaming is going to have a hard road ahead of it. Hopefully, with the implementation of 5G networks in the United States, it will increase the amount of competition in internet providers and drive the prices down. If not, these game streaming companies are going to have to come together to somehow combat this issue. I would like to thank you once again for tuning in. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I am Centurion1307, and you can find me and all the links to all my social media on legionofgamer.com, plus links to other great content creators in the community. Always remember, everyone, positive change starts with us, so let's play united and game hard together. Thanks for watching.